Hello guys, Dominic again here with another video. And today I felt compelled to make a video about Revelation 12. So I'm just going to go over this chapter in the Bible and I'm going to give my own interpretation of it. And I'm going to read the chapter and I'm going to put in some timestamps. So if you want to skip me reading it, it'll be in the description. So the chapter reads, The Woman and the Dragon. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its heads. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth, so that it might devour her child the moment he was born. She gave birth to a son, a male child who will rule the nations, all the nations, with an iron scepter, and her child was snatched up to God, to his throne. The woman fled into the wilderness to a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 1,260 days. Then war in heaven broke out. Michael and his angels fought against the demon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, the ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth and his angels with him. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, Now come to the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Messiah. For the accusers of our brothers and sisters, who accuses them before our God day and night, has been hurled down. They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you who dwell in them. But woe to the earth and to the sea, because the devil has gone down to you. He is filled with fury, because he knows that his time is short. When the dragon saw that he had been hurled down to the earth, he pursued the woman who had given birth to the male child. The woman was given the 2 wings of a great eagle, so that she may fly to the place prepared for her in the wilderness, where she would be taken care of for a time, times and a half, out of the serpent's reach. Then from his mouth the serpent spewed water like a river to overtake the woman and sweep her away with the torrent. But the earth helped the woman by opening its mouth and swallowing the river the dragon had spewed out of its mouth. Then the dragon was enraged at the woman and went off to wage war against the rest of her offspring, those who keep God's commands and hold fast to their testimony about Jesus. So there's a bit going on here in this chapter, and it's easy to get lost in the more fantastical elements, taking the dragon as a literal thing, or even the woman. Some people try to attribute the woman to Eve, an individual. I don't think this is the case. It is literary and it is metaphorical, but it's describing a very real thing that will likely come to being. So the first thing I want to highlight here is the tail sweeping a third of the stars and flinging them to the earth. This 1/3 appears in many myths, and too many for me to go on here, but I do have something to show you. maybe I'll make a post about the other myths that feature this 1/3 number during the apocalypse. But basically, what's going to happen is it's not just a third of the stars that are going to be flung out of the sky, or a third of the stars disappearing, or even some people will think it's a third of the angels disappearing. It's actually going to be 1/3 of all things that exist disappearing. And here is a very old Bible from the 1800s. From the New York Bible Society, and we can see this 1/3 number here emphasized in Revelation 8. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to draw attention to these angels sounding their horns. It says, and 1/3 of the trees burnt up after the first angel sounded his horn, and the second angel sounded, and fire was cast to the sea, and a third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures were in the sea had life, had died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as if it were a lamp. It fell upon the formations of the waters, and then it basically turned the waters to wormwood and caused many people to die. Then the fourth angel sounded, and a third part of the sun was smitten. So this 1/3 number, guys, is prevalent. And this here is talking about a singular event. These angels sounding their trumpets. And it's talking about a phoenix reset. And basically during a phoenix reset, civilization as we know it will basically be wiped out, especially during this cycle, because humanity has just basically lived so out of balance with nature that when the phoenix comes, it's going to come hard, and literally, like this is saying here, 1/3 of all things, all the trees, all the water, many living things, even a third of the day, right? So this is the dragon tail. The dragon tail is the phoenix that's going to come and take a third of all things. Now, if we come to the next, no, I'll save that. The dragon heads represent the 7 primordial pagan gods. In Roman mythology, they're Mercury, Venus, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, the moon, and the sun. In Sumerian mythology, it's Enki, Enlil, Ninurta, Utu, Sin, Inanna, and there's some other one too. Anu as well. Nurgle's the one. So these 7 heads actually represent the 7 primordial pagan gods who have pretty much throughout history asserted their rule over humanity. Basically pretending to be gods and masquerading as gods while leading people astray from the real God, the source of all things. And together, the dragon, the text refers to the dragon as Satan, and that is true, but it is a bit simplistic because the dragon it has multiple parts that are part of the same whole being. And the whole being is Satan. But Satan, as far as I can tell, has divided itself into multiple beings and multiple things. And it acts through these forces, like the forces I was just describing, the 7 primordial pagan gods who have essentially waged war with the true God since the beginning. So the dragon represents, I would say, sort of a union between these 7 pagan gods, or the 7 heads, representing what the ancients call the Anunnaki, or the Anuna, as part of being as a larger body of Satan in connection with the phoenix. And some people will say that the phoenix is a benevolent object. I can't say for certain. Okay, but this is what the dragon represents. Okay, the dragon as a whole is Satan. The tail is the phoenix that's going to come and take 1/3 of all things. And the 7 heads are the 7 pagan deities, which have been prevalent throughout history. Literally, they're connected to the planets and associated with the planets. And we even have each day of the week named after them, Sunday through Saturday. So, what does the woman represent? Well, this chapter here, chapter 9, tells you a little bit. It goes on about the bottomless pit, and they unlock it, and the locusts are unleashed. But what I want to draw attention to here is they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, but in Greek his name is Apollyon. And that's very important to understanding the woman's role. So now I'm going to get into what the woman represents. Okay, and the way I see it, the woman represents 2 types of civilizations that will emerge after the Phoenix reset. And this picture here I have, it's an AI generated image because I really couldn't find an image that I thought represented it the way I wanted to. But this represents what some Christians call Israel, the Israel civilization that will emerge after the reset. And the Israel civilization is basically new verse, same as the first. They think they're better than everyone else, and they think they should rule and dominate the world. Okay? So this civilization, it is going to be ruled through astrology and technology. And we can just look at the woman. The way she's described as being clothed, to me, insinuates strongly that astrology is at play. We look at the crown on her head, the 12 stars, the zodiacal wheel, and then she's clothed in the sun. So the sun is basically at her center in many depictions. And the zodiacal wheel literally spins around the sun. And the moon at her feet. The moon is basically the constant when it comes to astrology, because the moon is on a cycle called the Metonic cycle, which is a 19-year cycle where basically the moon will repeat itself every 19 years to the day. So today, the day I'm recording this, is September 11th, 2025. I don't know what the moon is today, but I'm just going to assume, let's just say it's a full moon. So if it's a full moon today, exactly 19 years to this date, it will be a full moon again. And that's the Metonic cycle. Now, I don't think today is a full moon. That's just my example that I'm going to give as to how the Metonic cycle works. So essentially, the moon is the constant in astrology that keeps the wheel spinning. Every month, it's a new sign. And astrology, guys, is just basically a type of spell casting that uses the stars to tell the ruling class or the people in charge when and what spells to cast. It's like a calendar for them, and they've tapped into energies to basically figure out how to put people's minds in boxes using star magic, or their twisted form of it, basically. Okay, so and also this civilization is going to be fairly technologically advanced during the post-reset era, and right now they are actively working to build technology that will basically help this Israel type civilization. Now, the son that comes out of this woman, or out of this Israel civilization, is going to be Apollo. It's going to be Apollyon. And Apollyon is basically the one who they call the Antichrist. I don't like the term Antichrist because I think that anyone has potential to be an Antichrist, and anyone has potential to be a Christ. So I prefer to call Apollyon, since he's like the biggest and baddest one probably who will ever exist, at least during our cycle. I prefer to call him the Beast King, because he's the one who will rule over the Beast Kingdom, which was given to him basically by the serpent. Okay, so these are the techniques at play. They're going to use technology. They're going to use astrology to control people. And then when their Messiah figure comes along, who's actually Apollo, he's going to offer solutions to people that are going to sound reasonable, they're going to sound intelligent, and they're going to sound like they're going to be beneficial for a lot of people. You can think of it like George W. Bush, I think, is a good example. After 9/11 happened, a catastrophe that this nation's pretty much never experienced before, he had a great ability to rally people towards an unjust cause based off of that catastrophe. There was no shortage of people willing to sign up for war after that happened. So could you imagine someone coming along who's far more intelligent than George W. Bush, and a catastrophe that's far more devastating than even September 11th, which I suppose today is ironic I'm talking about it because today is September 11th and I'm recording this video, but man, the people would flock to him. They would absolutely flock to that figure. So that leads me to the next type of civilization. And that is, if Christ is not going to come out of this Israel civilization, where is Christ going to actually come out of? So the second type of civilization that will emerge after the Phoenix reset is going to be more feminine societies. They're going to be probably more matriarchal, more of a gynocracy, and most importantly, they're going to be far more in tune with nature than the Israel nation, or even than we are today. These are basically going to be the people who, through love and nourishment and proper care, raise the future generation of Christs with an S, who will defeat this beast system that will be ruled by Apollyon. You see, when Christ returns during this time period, it's not going to be one individual. It's going to be thousands or hundreds of thousands or perhaps even millions of individuals. And when they reach a point of what I and others have called critical mass, they'll just basically be unstoppable. There will be no stopping these people. Okay? So these are the two types of civilizations that will emerge after the Phoenix reset. You have the civilization that's basically in alignment with the false gods, and you're going to have the societies forming that are more in tune with nature and actually, live by the principles of Jesus. These people who come out of these societies here, the more feminine and natural societies, they will probably produce many individuals, almost certainly produce many individuals that are living pretty similar lives, if not identically, certainly in principles, to what Jesus was talking about. I mean, could you imagine that, guys? Could you imagine if we had just right now millions of people actually living like Jesus? If that happened, there probably wouldn't even be a beast system. We could probably stop it right now. But because people don't do that, this is sort of our punishment. Okay. So since you have these two types of civilizations that are going to be coexisting on the earth, you can imagine inevitable conflict will eventually come out of it. Okay. Here's a picture, I don't know how old it is, of Christians combating Apollyon. I think it's pretty fitting to what this time period will probably look like. Okay. Because eventually what will happen is, from the more feminine society, which I'm just going to call it the Christ society, from the Christ-like civilization, you're going to have, like I said, strong amounts of love, strong amounts of nourishment, and that's going to grow people who know the difference between right and wrong, and people who are not afraid to stand up for what is right and what is wrong. And when they realize the level of plundering and deception and slavery that is actually in place by the nation of Israel, the awakened Christ-like beings will not let it exist. And the serpent knows this. This is why in Revelation it talks about how it's going to be chasing the woman around, and it's literally just lying in wait for when the woman gives birth to the child, because they don't want people who know the difference between right and wrong. They don't want people who are brought up in loving and caring environments, because those people are hard to control. They want people who are easy to control. And you best believe that one of the objectives of this Israel society is going to essentially be snuffing out this, wherever they can find any trace of Christ-like individuals. I think if you want to compare it to like a fictional example, you can think of the Empire from Star Wars, how they were so obsessed with hunting the Jedi and killing them all. It'll probably be something similar to that, where, you know, this civilization bent on technology and magic, they want to destroy the awakened beings. They want to destroy the people who are a threat to them. Because at the end of the day, we humans are the ones, we're the caretakers of this world. That's really what it comes down to. And the dragon, or the serpent, or the forces of Satan, they are not going to have a very easy time doing this. You can look at wars today and the past 20 years, you know, between large countries and insurgencies. Large countries have a very difficult time fighting insurgencies because, you know, they can be anywhere, they can be anyone, and they're constantly gaining recruits. So this is probably what it's going to be like during this time period. It's going to be a game of cat and mouse until the mouse, just gets so strong that the cat can't even deal with it anymore. And another thing to know, guys, is that when you have a population who begins to awake and they grow into Christ-like beings, God will come to their assistance. This is why it says, the serpent tried to drown them out, tried to drown the mother out with the flood, but the earth swallowed the water and saved the woman. This is basically insinuating that when you are truly a righteous person, powerful forces will come to your aid, especially when there's something so evil and twisted on the earth who's basically opposing you and basically opposing the earth itself. The earth will come to your aid because the earth does not want this Israel-like nation ruled by Apollo to be on it. It's like a disease. So you best believe, and I don't like to say the word believe often, but when there's truly a righteous people fighting for a just cause, like this image here depicts, powerful forces will come to the aid of those who are truly righteous. And I do think that a more feminine civilization based in care and nourishment and love would produce that. So that leads me to the next part. I just want to draw attention to Revelation 13:5 very briefly, because it says that the beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies and to exercise its authority for 42 months. Now, what's important about this passage, and even another verse said it in the previous chapter, I think, the Apollo's reign, or this reign of this civilization, is limited. It's temporal, and it will end. And it will end through us. This is what it's talking about with the accusers, accusing those who accused us. I'm not going to say, but you just think of a group of people who comes to mind who routinely blames others, but they themselves pretty much bear no blame. And you could probably imagine Israel probably sounds a lot like that. And basically, in the end, they will be defeated. Okay? But we should understand why. Why do they even have to come into being in the first place? Because it says it around here somewhere. I can't see exactly where, but it says basically that God gave the authority to this system. Why would God give authority to such a beastly and corrupt system? Because they deserve it. And that's really what it comes down to. The reason that these events are more than likely going to come to pass is because humanity has basically just sat back and let demonic, satanic people rule over them and guide them. And basically, from God's perspective, things have to probably get so bad for us to realize what lunacy we've actually been engaging in for the past several thousand years for things to get better. Things, they literally have to get so bad before they get better, because people, they want to support the satanic system. Many people take it as part of their job. Like if you're like a police officer, you are supporting the system of the beast. If you are a lawyer, you are supporting the system of the beast. And there are definitely better lawyers and definitely better cops than others, but it's a system. It's not It's not a place for individuals to thrive. It's a place where individuals go to change by taking up professions like that and basically become worse individuals because of it. And as long as we keep doing that, there's always going to be beasts and antichrist figures on the earth because we empower them. And that's why God gave them the authority to do this in the first place, because they earned it and we let them. But in the end, Christ will definitely be victorious because during this time period, like I said, Christ will be born again through literally thousands or millions of individuals rising against this system. And that's what I do think will happen in the end. And now I want to draw attention to this painting. This is a painting that they have. It's a big painting right in the center of the UN Security Council chamber. And the Security Council is they're the highest ranking nations with the most powerful militaries in the UN. And there's a whole lot being depicted here, but it definitely relates to the theme of Revelation. But I want to draw attention and emphasis to the phoenix. This bird here in the middle is the phoenix. And you can see it shedding its skin like a serpent sheds its skin. And what this is symbolizing is civilization will end as we know it, and it will be reset and born anew like this. And the elites, the ruling class, they know this, okay? And there's all kinds of other stuff going on here. Like here's a soldier tipping his hat off to what I assume these people are probably elites, because there's really no one else soldiers serve like that. Coming out of underground bunkers to basically restart civilization because of this Phoenix reset, which again, if you go back to Revelation 12, would be the dragon's tail coming and taking a third of the stars to the earth, but really it's a third of all things. So guys, they actually hold and discuss conferences and discussions of global affairs in front of this image. Okay, and you can look it up. Just look up UN Security Chamber or UN Security Council Chamber, and you'll see the image right there. It's playing out for everyone to see, and they even it's like a TV too. They put a screen over it, and they have conferences from people in different parts of the world, like a Zoom meeting. So the elites, I mean, they're well aware of these themes in Revelation, and they're well aware of the Phoenix, and they're well aware that society will be reset really hard, no thanks to their handiwork and the people who support them. So now I'm going to get into the astrotheology of this symbol. Now, we got to understand that the Bible is pretty much entirely based in astrotheology, and I said it in one of my other videos that God wrote his book in the sky. That means that the stars are the universal language that we can look to and get an idea of what's to come. Okay, this is astronomy, not to be confused with astrology, which I was going on about earlier. However, they definitely use and infuse astronomy and astrology into the religions, as we can see here. Now, this event, they're going to say this event happened on September 23rd, I think, of 2017. And from what I can tell, what I looked up, this event did actually happen. However, I don't think that these planets were in alignment quite like it's depicted here. But Virgo was there, just like this, on the date, September 23rd, 2017. The moon was by her feet, and Leo was above her head. So this is an actual astrological event that happened. but it is a bit exaggerated online. So this symbolizes two things, I think. First of all, I'm going to tie this, because a lot of Christians like to do it quite a lot, to Genesis 3, specifically Genesis 3:15, about the serpent's head being crushed underfoot. Now, this is just my opinion, but I think that what will probably happen at some point, I don't know when, the moon will disappear, and there will be no moon anymore, because it will have something will happen. You know, the phoenix, this thing here, from what I can tell, is very powerful, and it has capabilities beyond our comprehension, really. And it will probably at some point, maybe not during the time when its tail will come, as described in Revelation 12, but at some point the moon may disappear, and the moon would actually be the serpent's head that would be crushed underfoot. And you can think of it like, you know, like I said, they use astrology for thousands of years to control people. And what's at the forefront of astrology? What is the constant that's always there in astrology? It's the moon, like I was talking about, the Metonic cycle, the lunar cycle. So if the moon is gone, they're going to have a much harder time actually using astrology to control people. So that's one thing I want to point out, although that's really just more of my opinion. But the second thing I want to point out, and this is not my opinion, this is fact that I'm going to get into right now. The date 2007, or rather the year 2017, or that whole time period of the mid 2000s was huge for transhumanist agenda. We saw it, you know, they're talking about technology, about extending your life. There was a big push for the LGBTQ community as well, which is actually tied into transhumanism. And they're also talking about uploading your consciousness to computers and robots. And I'm going to be talking about some of the technology that they actually have now that would create a hybrid species that would just make it so easy for this figure here, Apollo, to rule over, and the whole Israel state, really. And it's called graphene oxide. Graphene oxide is basically, it comes from graphite, which they discovered like 20 or 25 years ago. And it's a very special substance. It's very dense. It's very thin. And they have figured out how to cut them. And they do kind of look like this, the ones I've seen. They look like a little hexagon. These are actually 1 atom thin. And they are basically like nano robots capable of scanning for things like cancer, tumors, disease, and even broken bones. And they will actually go to the point where they determine is most effective and dispense drugs directly to the point of illness or injury. And they have different drugs they inject, like hydrogel. These graphene oxide particles are actually designed to penetrate cells and inject drugs directly into the cell. But here's what they don't tell you about graphene oxide, is that all of these nanoparticles that they're putting in you for health reasons are actually connected to the cloud, like a server somewhere. And who runs the cloud? Is it people or is it AI? I don't really know, but I don't think I'd want nanoparticles connected to a cloud that is capable of, with such precision, identifying illnesses and dispensing drugs with such precision. I mean, what else would they be capable of, really? And if you listen to, lecturers like Yuval Noah Harari, he'll pretty much tell you that, if rulers from the 20th century, for example, if they had technology like this, they would totally 100% use it to implant false thoughts into people's minds to make them more easy to control. Okay. And that's what I think a big part of this is about. So basically, like I said, when the beast system gets here, there's a population of hybrids essentially who will just do whatever they're told or programmed to do at that point. So where does graphene oxide come from? Obviously it comes from scientists probably specializing in robotics and medicine. But I want to draw attention to this group here, the Jason Advisory Group. And I'm not going to read the wiki article, but basically what the Jason's group is it's a very clandestine and secretive and elite group of scientists funded by the government since the 1960s, right there, since 1960. And they get a list from the government and they oversee the list and they direct the flow of science and technology in the nation. And I would also imagine they probably work hand in hand with the NRO. The NRO has a lot of they have a lot of say in building the technology, particularly the surveillance state. So we have and there's only like 30 to 60 members at a time, and all the members, they're classified. We don't know who they are. We don't know what projects they're working on. But, here's the current chairwoman. And just look at this right here, guys. Known for her research in surface properties and nanotechnology, which is what I was just talking about here. So basically, we have the government right now giving us technology, graphene oxide, that not many people have heard of, from groups that literally no one has heard of. Okay, I guarantee you probably no one has heard of the Jason group. Very few people, I would say. The general public, they don't know who these people are. And this leads me to my next article I found. It's called The Hybrid Age. And this is from Wired. I'll post the link in the description if you want to read it. But I'm going to scroll down to this one part. So this right here, this section is basically telling you that the Jasons are worried that other nations might be ahead of us in transhumanist technology. So we're basically in what they call an arms race of who can create the best transhumans, hybrid species, basically. Who can create the best cyborgs, the best versions of humans infused with technology? This is what they're concerned about. And right here, I mean, I can't make this stuff up, guys. Right here, this section is talking about, well, since we're coming with all these transhuman people, we need to consider legal protections for them. And so here at the Brooking Institute, they're worried about how are we going to protect the rights of genetically engineered homosexual entities. I mean, where do I even go from there? They're literally referring to these people, or these people that they're injecting with stuff like this graphene oxide, as genetically engineered homosexual entities. Guys, from there, I'm just gonna end it there because I don't think there's anything else more I need to say. The technology that these people are producing, and like this graphene oxide, is only going to help when the time comes. This system by Apollyon, I'm gonna call it the Neo-Israel's nation, which is just basically Israel after the Phoenix reset. So that's my take on Revelation 12. And I would say that a lot of the technology that's going to be put in place for that nation is being constructed right now. Okay, because let me tell you, these people here, these genetically engineered homosexual entities that they're referring to, are going to be far easier to control than the awakened Christ-like figures who will emerge out of the more natural societies in tune with natural law and God's principles. So that's my video, guys. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you guys again.